Asking your questions, getting your answers. This is your show. Here's your host, Adam Schrager.
Good morning, happy Father's Day, and welcome to your show for Sunday, June 15th. Coming up in this program, you'll hear questions answered by Paula Dean, the chef, and we'll look back at our recent talk with Tim Russert. It's a very sad loss. But first, live in our studio this morning is Betsy Markey, who is a Democrat challenging Marilyn Musgrave in Colorado's 4th Congressional District. Thank you so much for being on your show.
Yes, thank you for inviting me, Adam.
Wanted to start right out. Obviously, one of the stories that's been in the news a lot lately has been about gas prices. And we received a number of questions about that and kind of solution-oriented questions. Deb Carlstrom writes in, given the increasing support of gas, do you support opening up drilling in the Anwar province, the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge? Christy writes in, do you support drilling in Anwar now that the price of gas is nearly $4 a gallon? Mike from Longmont, dear Ms. Markey, do you believe the U.S. should make it legal to drill, extract oil from Anwar to help reduce oil prices? If not Anwar, and I'd like you to answer this one, where would you support increased domestic oil drilling and extraction?
Right. Well, I do not support domestic drilling in Anwar, and I think that we need to. And I will support it if it's, we need to take a look and make sure it's not an environmentally sensitive area. But in the long run, it's not going to be a long-term solution to the high gas prices right now. I mean, we can start today doing more domestic drilling. We won't see the effect of this for the next couple of years. And so, so I've been asked about that, and also about vacation, which my opponent also supports, a vacation on the gas tax. And I also disagree with her on that as well, because, I think all that is doing is giving
energy. We received a couple of questions as a result to that. Joe Peterson writing in with rising gas prices and the increased awareness of global warming. What plans do you have to encourage the use and development of green energy? And ML from Fort Collins, with gas prices soaring and global warming becoming more evident, what do you plan to do in Congress to help support Colorado's renewable energy jobs and programs?
Right. Well, just this past year, that money's going back to the oil companies, and I don't have any confidence that that savings is actually going to be passed on to the consumer. The fact is it's a long-term problem, and we have to look at it that way. And there's not going to be any quick fixes. We absolutely need to start reducing our dependence on foreign oil, investing in renewable energy, and conserving as well, looking into more fuel-efficient vehicles. How do we make our buildings more efficient as well, energy efficient? And that's what we need to do. We need to get started today. But, just talking about things like a vacation on the gas tax, that's not going to get us where we need to be in the long run.
That's actually, the Congresswoman made that statement here on the program about a month ago when she was on. Your old boss, Senator Ken Salazar, I just talked to him last week, and he was talking about, similarly, that this is a long-term problem. Part of that, though, let me ask, is part of the solution doing more domestic drilling? Because it seems whether it's Anwar or whether it's anywhere else, whether it's oil shale, whether it's domestic production, do we need to increase domestic production?
I think we need to put that on the table as an option. You bet. I think we need to take a look at that and see, how much is that going to help? And, again, is it in an area where it's not going to hurt the environment and where there is potential to really make a difference in the supply, in the domestic supply? And if that's the case, absolutely. I think that that's an option we should be looking at as well.
You mentioned renewable energy. We received a couple of questions as a result to that. Joe Peterson writing in with rising gas prices and the increased awareness of global warming. What plans do you have to encourage the use and development of green energy? And ML from Fort Collins, with gas prices soaring and global warming becoming more evident, what do you plan to do in Congress to help support Colorado's renewable energy jobs and programs?
Right. Well, just this past year in the 2007 energy bill, there was a provision to take $13 billion in tax rebates that were given to the oil companies in 2005 and put it into investment in renewable energy. And that passed overwhelmingly with bipartisan support in the House. My opponent voted against it, but I would have voted for that bill to put that money into investment in renewable energy. And we need to do this for a number of reasons. Number one, to protect our planet from global warming. We also need to do it to reduce our dependence on foreign oil, so for security reasons as well, and because it's a great economic development tool. I go to places on the Eastern Plains, Ray, Colorado, for instance, which got a grant from USDA to put wind turbines on Ray High School. They're producing so much energy that they're able to sell their excess capacity to the town of Ray. So, again, it's great for our rural communities as well, wind and solar, and we've got unparalleled resources in northern and eastern Colorado.
We've actually had Representative Corey Gardner from Yuma on, and we've been to Yuma to see the renewable technologies that are working there. You talked about the economy. It's certainly top of mind for folks. And Daniel Greeley writes in from Fort Collins saying, with the deficit growing, housing foreclosure crisis continuing to hit Colorado's families hard, what solutions do you propose when elected to Congress to help the economy?
To help the economy?
Yeah.
Well, I'm taking a look at this as a business owner, and I know that we need to start to bring some sense and reason to our budget process. And that's one of the reasons very early on in the campaign, I issued an economic plan, and it's on my website, and it has concrete ways that we can reduce government spending. As mentioned, I've been a business owner. I've also worked in the federal government, and believe me, there's lots of opportunities where we can cut government waste. And we also need to make sure that we're investing in our small businesses. And as a mother, I want to make sure that my children have the opportunity for good paying jobs. And so there's also ideas in there to strengthen our middle class.
Congress recently voted on a measure that would extend the emergency unemployment benefits for folks. And this question from Lita King comes in from Greeley. What's your stand on Congresswoman Musgrave's no vote on the emergency unemployment bill? She writes, this is of real interest for the people of Greeley, distressed city, large population of unemployed or underemployed.
Yes. Well, in the past month alone, we have had the highest jump in unemployment that we have had in the past 22 years. Unemployment went from 5% nationwide to 5.5%. This is something that we need to be very concerned about. Marilyn Musgrave had the opportunity last week on 2 occasions to vote to extend unemployment benefits, and she voted against it. A full third of the Republican caucus in Congress voted with the Democrats to extend unemployment benefits, and she had that opportunity really to to really support a bipartisan measure in Congress, and twice she voted against that.
Let me play devil's advocate with you. That measure, many would say, didn't necessarily give benefits to the unemployed for a significant period of time. You could have been unemployed for a short period of time and still qualified. I think that was what the concern was. Are you at all concerned with kind of the distinction of who's unemployed and who ought to be able to get benefits?
Yes, and we need to talk about that. But at the end of the day, this is something where people are hurting. I mean, we've got again 5.5%. It's a total 1% increase over the past year in unemployment. So we need to be concerned about that. And people are out of jobs. I mean, even if they're getting minimum wage, able to find a minimum wage job, I mean, what they're paying in an hour still doesn't cover the cost of a gallon of gas and a gallon of milk. And we need to, we need to be concerned about people who are out of jobs and are just not being able to make ends meet. And I would have supported it.